Hello and welcome back to Rent Free History, the show about history that lives rent free in our heads. I'm your host, Kemdi Wosu, and today I'm here with Eddie and Dawn Ravenscar. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, sir, you sure did.
All right. All right. How you guys doing today?
We're living the dream as usual. Another day we survived on this earth and, another day to drink coffee. You know what I mean?
All right. Yeah. Speaking of coffee, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your show before we get into the one we're doing right now.
Sure. Absolutely. Like you said, this is my midnight barista, the beautiful Dawn Ravenscar. And I'm your ugly ghost host, Eddie Ravenscar. And everything started off on almost a year ago. We just, boredom set in and we were into the paranormal a little bit. And I've always been most of my life. And we were living in a house at the time that was haunted and so much strange shit was going on. And, we could tell stories and it never really bothered me. And I never really thought about doing anything with it. So we started a podcast called Creepy Coffees, two things that I myself loved. And the beautiful Dawn looked at me like I was nuts, but said, "Yeah, go ahead and have fun." So it started out just, we were going to do movie reviews and stuff like that, just something to pass the time. And I didn't care if anybody listened, it was just for us. And we did the review, or I did the review on that god awful Nicolas Cage movie, Long Legs, or whatever it's called. And he did a great job in it. Too bad the movie sucked, you know. But and then from there, things just started happening. We went to on a ghost walk where we're at in Flagstaff because it's really haunted up here, and weird shit started happening to us. We got followed home by an entity, and we just the
I
parent.
did,
Yeah, she did.
based on what you did.
Yeah, because of my stupidity. So, but and things just kind of developed themselves into ghost hunting and paranormal and true crime and unsolved mysteries and stuff like that. And then one day somebody says, "Well, you're creepy coffees and you're bringing creepy stuff and coffee culture together. Where's the freaking coffee?" So and that ding, there goes that light bulb. So we got a roaster and we're roasting our own coffee now, and it's taken off globally. We've been invited to, gosh, the next 12 months. Did I just say gosh?
Right.
I mean, oh God, how freaking nerdy was that? You know, but for the next 12 months, we're on the road. We're getting ready to go to horror conventions, and we've been invited to haunts, or, around the world in England and in Ireland and here in the United States. Gosh, I said it again.
Gosh,
That's
again.
twice. So there will not be a third gosh come out of my mouth. I'm trying not to swear, is what it is. But anyway, everything's kind of steamrolled and boom, boom, and here we are. It's pretty amazing how fast everything has
And
happened.
gosh, here we are.
See, now she said that, I didn't this time.
I did based on you.
So that's our story here in a nutshell.
All right. Well, that's a really good story, and I wish you all the best on your tour.
Thanks. I'm pretty excited about it, but at the same time, I'm still a little bit concerned with it being as successful as we've been. It's to be doing this and seeing our numbers rise and our sales rise, and none of this was planned. So we really didn't have an infrastructure in place or anything like that. And it's, thank goodness. God, am I such a freaking nerd tonight?
You are.
Thank God that I have a little bit of business background and I'm able to kind of catch things up and move forward. But it's, yeah, everything that you see, it just boom exploded. And now we're working on finding the perfect K cup so we can make K cups for people who don't want whole beans. A year ago, I had open heart surgery and never thought for a million years I'd be schlepping coffee. Here I am chasing ghosts and drinking coffee.
And
So,
saying gosh.
and saying, gosh, so life's pretty freaking good.
Well, I say we just jump into the topic then from that point on. Yeah. So today's topic, is horrifying, but in more of a realistic way. And mainly because today's topic has to do with an unsolved murder. Well, several unsolved murders. And the murder in case being the thing that was unsolved was the murderer. And we will be talking today about the Zodiac.
Zodiac from the San Fernando Valley area up in San
Yes.
Francisco. So I got my research done today for you. I'm ready to go. Let's
Okay.
do it.
So, just some basic facts. The Zodiac Killer was active in Northern California from 1968 through 1974. Only had 5 confirmed murders and 2 survivors. Although the Zodiac himself claimed several times that he had killed about 37 people, though investigators doubt most of these claims. Most famous for being one of the few serial killers to communicate with the press about his murders, kind of getting the word out there. Kind of the equivalent nowadays if someone kind of just tweeted about a murder that they did nowadays, I guess. And but what
That's like
he
the
did
growing
was,
thing, isn't it?
yeah, I would say so, honestly.
Because I know when I was doing the research on it, that everything you said is right on point, and it's just the time period that it happened is the late '60s, early '70s. None of what we have today was available then, and I'm sure as we go farther into it and we talk about the cab driver, that I'm really surprised with the clothing that they still had with the blood on it. They haven't done any type of DNA or anything like that on there, and it's the whole thing. It's pretty amazing how, and I don't want to talk bad about police departments and everything, but again, the time period and the knowledge, it's pretty amazing how little they knew what to do. But yet at the same time, it was a professional type of thing that they did. And, you put it side by side with today's science and they look dumb, and they're not. I'm not saying that at all. But I watched a couple things today too just to refresh my mind. And you sit back and you think about all the technology today, and this guy would have been picked up boom like that because some of the things that he did. And nobody's dumb enough anymore, and I shouldn't say it dumb enough, but nobody's got balls enough anymore, I'll just put it, to call the radio station. Or I think the last time that happened, what, 20 years ago, when a serial
Called
killer
Howard
called
Stern.
Howard Stern. Yeah. And you don't hear about that anymore. It is crazy, and I'm kind of taking us off topic, but and go back to you.
Well, I think you could also, one more point on that, you could also sum that up to also, the FBI is still pretty new at this point. Actually, no, I think the FBI got established around, I may be wrong about this, but I want to say like early 70s. So by this point, like when the murders are happening, like the different police stations aren't like talking to each other or giving their information to one central source. So
Right.
that's another case for that happening.
Right. No, you're at a perfect example is the Nancy Guthrie thing down in Tucson. You have the sheriff who's, for
Trying to
lack of
call the
better,
shots.
yeah, and you've got the hierarchy, the FBI that wants in on it, and everybody wants to be the hero, and nobody's thinking about the poor old lady who was, every day something else happens. So as far as we've come in law enforcement and true crime and all this crap, and to be honest with you, a year ago, if you were to ask me, I would have just said, yeah, it's a good story. But now, since I'm doing research on things like that, I realize a lot of things. And as far as we've come with things, we're still so far behind the ball working together and everything. And it's like, I want to be the big dog on the block. And, you know, it's sad, it really is, because you've got innocent lives that are affected by it. And this guy, the Zodiac, had he had done everything he said he was going to do, would have lost a busload of kids, not to mention everything else. So it's, if your cops are listening out there, get your shit together. So, and if you're looking for me, my name is Raul Julia, and
I think that's an actor's name, actually.
well,
Raul
he's
Julia?
dead too.
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, yeah.
So you can find me at Forest Lawn Cemetery, Hollywood, California.
And another thing that stood out about the Zodiac is not only did he like contact the press, but he made it like a game, basically. He made it like a spectacle. He sent like these letters, puzzles, threats, these coded messages that
Right.
people would have to decipher. And he also like had a signature sign. He had like a circle with a crosshair. And you could tell he wanted the attention. He liked the attention. Newspapers, that's why he wrote to them, so they would print his letters, and civilians would try solving his ciphers. It was like some kind of morbid game people would solve to figure out what he had done next.
Right. There even back then there was what did they call them? At-home code breakers or amateur code breakers that would try to go ahead and break them. And I believe it was a school teacher and her husband were sitting down one day, and they kind of broke it well, they couldn't get his name on there, but they broke it down enough to where it said something along of the lines of the game is good. I like to murder versus killing animals because there's more thrill in it, and everything that I'm going to phrase it in his words, everything that I kill today in the next life will become my slaves. So his whole idea of everything, according to what they've, been able to decipher, was that he was just putting notches on his bedpost, for lack of better terms. So in the next life, he thought that they were going to be his followers and his slaves. Whether or not that was his intention or not, who knows? Because there's so many theories out there now, because we know so much more. There's, I would say, probably a new theory every month about, what's coming on and things like that. And they're all interesting and they all make sense. But at what point can we say, okay, this definitively, did I say that right? That's the
Definitive.
word. Thank you. Is this him? Kind of like they did with, what was it out in London? Jack the Ripper. They finally
Yes.
found out who he was through DNA and stuff like that, which this guy came out of nowhere, Jack the Ripper did. So I'm kind of hoping that this happens too. And there's the one part, I don't know if you've remembered it or not, or had looked up into it, but they actually had him in custody, the Zodiac. And I'm probably getting ahead of ourselves and everything, but they had him in custody and then they let him go.
Yes. And we will get to that.
Yeah.
First, I want to get to the
Sorry, I
first
have
murders.
the gift of gab, and
So let him talk.
okay, I'll shut up. Gosh.
No worries. I like where this is going right now. I just want to go through a timeline of all the confirmed murders,
Right.
and then we can kind of go through all of them. So the first murders happened on Lake Herman Road on December 20th, 1968. The victims were David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, a couple in teenagers that were parked on a secluded road used as a lover's lane. If you've seen the movie Zodiac, this is pretty much how it opens. Someone approaches the car, forces them out, and shot them. And Betty Lou Jensen was shot multiple times while trying to run away. Now, the police initially believed it might be a jealous boyfriend, a random violent attack, or just somebody like targeting couples. There was no Zodiac identity that existed yet. And that was until the Blue Spring Rocks attack on July 4th, 1969. The victims this time were Darlene Farron and Michael McGow. I think McGow.
Yeah, like a
So
Joe Wow or
something like that. McGo, something like that.
yeah, we'll go with that one. Mago.
Yeah. And so a couple is in a parking lot, and he leaves and a man pulls into the parking lot near a couple, and he leaves briefly, comes back, walks up to the car, and opens fire with a handgun. Now, Farron died. McGo survived and gave the police a partial description. And then about 40 minutes later, someone called the police. Now, the killer had said calmly he had killed the couple and was responsible for the 1968 murders too. And then he hung up. Now, this is the first time investigators are like, "Oh, we're dealing with a serial killer."
Right. That's when the pieces started coming together.
Yes. And then the letters begin. August 1969, letters arrive at the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times Herald. Each letter contained details only the killer would know and a piece of a 408 symbol cipher. Now, the letters demanded that the codes be printed, and if they weren't published, the writer threatened to kill again. Now, the cipher, as you mentioned previously, it was the one that was solved by a school teacher and his wife. And part of the message said, "I like killing people because it is so much fun." And then the killers, of course, like as you said before, believed his victims would become slaves for him in the afterlife. And
Right.
this is where the first mention of the Zodiac is mentioned, where he signs his letters, "This is the Zodiac speaking." Now, this is the next one that this is like, in my opinion, probably the scariest one. This is the Lake Berryessa attack. Now, this one
Right.
happened on September 27th, 1969. The victims were Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard. The killer approached them wearing a black hood and a large crosshair symbol on his chest, kind of like a executioner costume. And he claimed he was an escaped prisoner who needed their car, but instead he tied them up and he stabbed them. Shepard died from the injuries, but Hartnell survived. And something about that, just like someone
Can I
forces
correct
you.
you?
Oh,
Can
okay.
I
Yes.
correct you?
Yeah.
Not that I'm a know-it-all, but I did research this too. So, um, the method of death, well, actually what it was he came up like you were saying, and with phone cord and coil, he made his girlfriend, I can't remember what her name, what was her name?
It was Cecilia Shepard.
Thank you. Cecilia, tie up her boyfriend. So that way, he held the gun on her, on both of them, because he still had, at this point, he had a 9mm Ruger, where the first murders were done with a 22, which we can go back and rephrase the calibration of that, as much as we want to, and how you, well, I don't, are you do you shoot guns? Are you pretty familiar?
I've done it like a couple times. I am no expert.
Okay.
I know there's a
Well,
shotgun. I know there's
yeah, a
like that's
22 is such a small round that if you're 50 feet away and you shot, it will hit you, but it'll just like get under your skin and hurt like hell. You have to be, for a 22, there's not a lot of oomph behind it. They're the ones that you hear pop, pop, pop type of thing like that. The 9mm Ruger, that'll blow a hole, clear open your chest. So at this point, he's got the 9mm and he makes her tie him up. After she gets him tied up, he takes the car keys. This is from what I've read and heard. And he had 75 cents in his pocket because he had told them, like you said, that he's an escaped convict from Montana and he killed a corrections officer to break loose. And so that's why they say, "Here's the keys, and all I got is 75 cents on me." And she ties him up thinking they're going to let go. Well, when he gets tied up and he's subdued, he puts the gun away and ties her up and then puts her face down next to him and then pulls out a big blade about 8 to 10 inches long and says, "Okay, at this point, I have to kill you." So he stabs her 10 times and then goes over and stabs him 6 times, which we can talk about that too and what the experts think. So she survives up until the point where they get her to the hospital. And the only reason why they are found is because there was, I believe it was another lady that was walking her dog or whatever that found them. I think it's that case, that murder that they do find them. But they get to the hospital and she passes away. She expires. And he comes through and gives the first good, this is what I've seen, this is what I've done. But if we look at the wounds and the way that the couples were treated, I'm going to get into your field here, psychology. She's a psychology major. And so, if you want to know what's on your mind, she'll tell you. So, but what they're saying now is that if you look at all the murders except for the cab driver, the three incidences, that he had an issue with women for whatever reason, because the murders and the attacks on the women were extremely brutal and violent, where the one on the men's, they were brutal. I mean, come on, you stabbed somebody 6 times, but they weren't as brutal as for the men. So it was almost as if he had a vendetta or something against women. And they're also saying that with the dates, they all coincide with the holiday. So that was what they were fearing, was they were all on or near a holiday over a weekend and all at dusk or dark. So there's so many of the pieces that fit together that kind of give you a somewhat of a profile of what to be looking for. And again, I've taken over the conversation, so I'm sorry. Please continue.
So why couples though? If he was after women, why couples? Because it was always couples.
From what I understand is that he was kind of like a loner type of person. And we can get back to the suspects, like the name, the Zodiac. That was Arthur Lee Allen, who at one point, and still is, the main focus of who they think it was. And his watch with the brand name was Zodiac. So that's where they're thinking he came up with the name Zodiac. And out of all the research I've done and everything that I've watched, there's too many coincidences with Arthur Lee Allen to discount him. But the only problem with that is when they did the blood tracing and the tracking off of some of the things, there was nothing from him there, but everything else was. So,
But you didn't answer my question.
well, what does that tell you? I don't know.
Why couples? If he was literally focused on women, why couples?
Well, we'll find out when the Zodiac Origin movie comes out this fall. No, I'm kidding.
Next on Netflix.
I swear they're gonna
honestly,
make like Netflix has been making a bunch of those like serial killer movies. Like they made the Dahmer one recently, the Ed Gein one, and they've
the
been
Ed
trying to give
Gein.
sympathy to all those killers. And I just like, when's the Zodiac one coming out? Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here?
Well, the next one coming is Lizzie Borden. So that's going to be interesting how they spin that one, because
The Ed Gein one was pretty
that
weird,
was good.
freaky.
That was good.
Yeah.
And they said that the show really didn't even come close to the grossness that he did. But anyway, this is your show. Why aren't you talking? Come on.
Yeah, let's get back to the San Francisco taxi murder
Okay.
happening a month later, October 1969. The victim was Paul Stein, a taxi driver. The Zodiac, who had sat in the taxi, shot Stein in the head inside the taxi in San Francisco. And then he did something shocking. He took a piece of Stein's bloody shirt and he mailed pieces of the shirt to the newspaper to prove he was the killer. And this is where the near capture comes from. So the police, so first, like a couple of people hear the gunshot because he does this in like a neighborhood, like, and it's not like it's the middle of the night. It's pretty like evening, I would say, like probably 8-9 p.m. I could be wrong about that.
And it's in the Presidio area of San Francisco, which is close to a military base. So there's a lot that's going on down at that time. And from what I understand, is there was a play just down the road that was letting out when this happened. I can't remember the name of the play because I can make something up to make it look like I'm a know-it-all, but I'm really not.
So
All
the
right.
police receive a call describing a suspect, and the officers stop a man walking nearby who matches the bill. Basically, he was supposed to be like a white guy, stocky build, about 5'8" to 5'10", kind of like average. I'm trying to think of like the length of hair, like probably like short to medium length,
Right.
and
Business
glasses.
for the time period.
Yeah, yeah. And they basically have him. This pretty much this is the Zodiac Killer they have. But due to radio miscommunication, they were told to look for a black suspect, not a white one, and the man got released.
Yeah, because they had initially thought it was a robbery gone bad. So, yeah, that's what the bolo went out as, a black male, such and such, whatever. And from what I understand, he's literally standing in front of the cops when that goes out over the radio. So they just wish him a well, fairly well. And from what I've also read, was that had they had even taken the time to search him, they would have seen that one of his whole sides was covered with the cab driver's blood all over him from where he shot him in the head. So all that was completely missed. And from what I also understand is that when he called the radio station or the next letter or something along the lines, he had made the comments about the lack of professionalism of the police and made the comment that they had me if they weren't out there racing their motorcycles or some kind of nonsense like that. But he even said that they had him. And so,
And this is the last major one. There's like other ones that the Zodiac claimed. Like for example, there's actually one where I'm from right now in Riverside. That's considered to be an important one, but like the police have said, like there's not enough evidence to support that it was the Zodiac who did it. I might talk about that in a later episode, though. And the Zodiac keeps sending letters into the 70s. He's sending more cryptograms. As you said, the threats to kill school children, diagrams as bombs. There's one cipher in particular. It was called the 340 cipher, and it wasn't solved until 2020 by amateur code breakers. And this is the cipher. This is what it said. I hope you're having lots of fun trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show. Somebody called into somebody tried to see if the Zodiac would call into a TV show. Turns out it was just a hoax guy and wasn't the real guy. Just some troll that wanted to mess with the people that were hosting the show. If you've seen the
well, he
movie,
was actually, they found out he was actually an inmate at a, what's the word, at a sanitarium up in San Francisco. I can't remember the name of it, but that's where the call came from. And it was an inmate was in the sanitarium at that time.
yeah. I mean, hey,
Shut up now again.
if you're in prison, you might as well just troll them, I guess.
Right?
Oh yeah, there's a little more, which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will save me all the more slaves for the afterlife. And that one was solved 6 years ago.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy how, as far as technologies come, that this is where we're at right now. And we still don't have a definitive answer.
Yeah. And then I'd like to go into suspects. So the main one, of course, the one that most people think of, and then also the one that is pretty much the focus of the 2007 movie Zodiac with Jake Gyllenhaal and Robert Downey Jr. We've got Arthur Lee Allen, as you mentioned previously.
Right.
So, of
And then
course,
there,
we have the reasons why he's considered the most famous suspect, the Zodiac style watch, lived near several crime scenes, and had disturbing statements about wanting to kill people. But then, of
and he was
course,
also in the military
yes,
where he was dishonorably discharged. And he did work with the Navy as well as the Air Force for code breaking. So
yes,
that was part of that as well, which all the arrows pointed to him except they could never pin it on it.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what the movie. Well, the movie's different though, because the movie doesn't indirectly say it, but they strongly want you to think, because the movie takes place from the perspective of Jake Gyllenhaal's character, who is a real person, whose name is escaping me at the moment. I don't know if you remember the name.
I
He
don't
wrote the
remember the
book
name,
called
but I
Zodiac.
know he's in it, and Mark Ruffalo is his partner, and they're the ones that are going back and forth on it, trying to figure out. It's if you're into true crime and you haven't seen it, it's worth the watch. I thought it was anyway. So
So we've got a couple other suspects. We've got Earl Van Best Jr. He
right,
became a suspect after his son Gary Stewart wrote a book claiming his father was the Zodiac. His reasons are that the guy, Earl Van Best Jr., looks just like the composite sketch of the Zodiac. He lived in San Francisco during the murders, and some believe that the cipher messages contain his name. Now, the problems with this theory are that, kind of similar to Arthur Lee Allen handwriting analysis, doesn't match perfectly. There's timeline issues, and most investigators consider the evidence to be circumstantial at best.
right,
Though, if
right,
you see this guy, he does look a lot like the Zodiac sketch. Like, if you were making a movie
right,
and this guy was an actor, he would be top of the list choice. Like, this
right.
is eerie.
Right. And you know the thing about it is what still kills me to the, well, I shouldn't say it that way. What still gets to me today is they're saying the timelines and everything don't match and there's a lot of question. But again, at that time period, how can you be definitive? Like now we have cell phones, we have, you pinged off of this tower and, all these things, work together to give you a specific timeline. Back in the 60s, I was born in 67, so I'm just showing you how old I am. That even in the late 70s, when I was old enough to remember things, you can't be definitive on a timeline just simply because there was nothing to go on. You could say, well, I went out to play when Happy Days started. I came back in when Police Story was over. It's just it's all over the place. So it's so hard. There's so many documentaries. There's one right now on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it yet or not. It's about a gentleman who, I mean, it looks like it's really him that, he was friends with a family and he would take, the kids out for a ride and take them to the lake and stuff like that. When the kids were playing in the lake, he would disappear and they wouldn't see him for an hour, and he'd come back and pick the kids up. But in the meantime, they're thinking that he was the one killing people at the lakes and stuff like that. So again, there's so many things and so many theories, and whoever writes these and does the directing, they do such an amazing job because every documentary I've seen or everything I've listened to, right afterwards, oh, that's the killer now. I know it is, until the next one comes along. And it's a fascinating story, but like you said, it's very tragic as well. And I'm babbling again.
But no. I was just getting ready to the next part. I like that you were doing that, because I lost the next, what's it called? The next suspect, but I just
Okay.
got him. Yeah. So the next one, if you've heard, this is one of the unconfirmed ones. So there was this woman, her name was Kathleen Johns. She was had an
She's a
incident on the road.
librarian?
Huh?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I know which one you're talking about, the one with the
Yeah,
tire.
yeah, the one with the tire where honestly, just how the times have changed. If anyone signaled to me something and then like asked me to pull over, if they're not police, I'm not pulling over
Right,
nowadays.
right.
But she did, and then you know, she was told that she had a like air
Wobbly
leaking out
tire.
of her tire or something like that. And basically, what he did was just flatten her tires. so that she would have to pull over.
Well, what he did, not to cut you off again and be Mr. Know-It-All,
No,
but
no. If you have a better, if you have the right, because I'm remembering this from the movie. So
okay. Well, what had happened was she was driving with her child, who was an infant, and he kept flashing and everything. And when he finally got to tell her, he said that, "Hey, your tire's wobbling in the back. If you want, I'll be happy to fix it for you." So she finally agrees to. And what he does is he takes off all the lug nuts and, you know, does absolutely nothing because there's nothing wrong. So she gets in her car, she starts going down the road, and all of a sudden, boom, the tire falls off and she's on the side of the road. Well, lo and behold, he's right behind her. So he convinces her that, well, here, let me take you to the gas station and we'll get you help, yada, 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 type of thing like that. So as they're driving to the gas station, they're talking and he's acting all kinds of weird and everything. And they go past the gas station and she says, "Hey, this is where I'm supposed to, aren't we stopping?" And he makes the comment, "I'm going to throw your baby out the window." So she starts freaking in the whole 9 yards. And I don't know if it's a stop sign or a stoplight or why they stopped, but when they stopped, she jumped out with their baby and hid down in the ditch. Well, he couldn't find her for whatever reason. And again, it's that time period where not everybody has a flashlight on their cell phone because they didn't have cell phones. So he couldn't find her. So he leaves and goes back and torches her car so that way there's no fingerprints or nothing on there. While he's torching the car, a lady comes driving by and she sees the victim with the baby on the side of the road, and she waves him down and she gives him a ride and goes to the police station. But that's kind of how that whole story happened, and that's the first time anybody got that close of a view. And sorry, I babbled again.
that was good. That was good. You kind of,
Gosh.
the entire time I'm just picturing the scene from the movie.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, and it's you really can. If your viewers haven't seen the movie, go watch it. Do yourself a favor. I mean, it's not the best movie in the world, but it's definitely worth watching, and it raises a lot of questions that, it obviously it does because we're talking about it right now. You know,
man who's strongly suspected of doing this particular one is a man named Lawrence Kane. Now, his real name is Lawrence K, apparently. And in 1962, he was in a car crash that led to a brain injury, which affected his behavior and impulse control. And he is suspected of being the one after Kathleen Johns, this happens. And then also the disappearance of Donna Lass, a nurse from Lake Tahoe in 1970. Though his identification was not definitive, and police never publicly labeled him as a suspect. Now we
why?
have,
That's the question. Why wasn't he labeled a suspect?
well, if we're going off what the movie says, I think at a certain point they just got tired of this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were getting a lot of for lack of better words, bullshit. Like perfect thing, the television show where the nutbag calls in and claims he's them. And at this point, I'm sure they're flooded with all the copycats and everybody confessing. And because that, for whatever reason, the late 60s and the 70s, drugs must have been really good because people are coming in and confessing for everything. So but yeah, no, that's again, at what point do we find out definitively? I said it right that time. Definitively that this is the person or this isn't, because there's so many theories and so many documentaries that are so good that you just want it to be true.
Agreed. Sometimes and like, what if it isn't Arthur Lee Allen? Like, I know a lot of evidence points towards him, but what if it's someone no one ever suspected? And would that make people feel better? Because what if they've been like, for example, the cartoonist who Jake Gyllenhaal plays in Zodiac, he's so obsessed with finding the killer, something that he really has no connection to, aside from the fact that they sent like letters and like kind of targeted one of the writers at the newspaper that he somewhat knew. He just became obsessed with it, and just like becoming obsessed with like something like that for so many years, like what does it do to you when you find out the person you thought was it isn't it, you know?
Oh, I'm sure it got to be seriously deflating because I know for a time period, for lack of better words, I was kind of obsessed with the whole thing. I couldn't get enough information on it. I wanted more. I wanted to know more. And in my mind, I was convinced that I knew who it was. And then again, like I said, the next good documentary comes out with all these facts and everything. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I was so stupid for thinking this. And so I'm sure for that character in real life, that had to been so deflating and so mind bending that you get tunnel vision. It's so easy to be tunnel vision.
You know, Zodiac, of course, became a huge part of American pop culture. The books, the documentaries, the films that we talked about. One last thing I want to talk about. I don't know if you heard this about your research. Someone actually tried to catch the Zodiac by making a film about the Zodiac.
No, I never heard that.
Yeah, there was this guy. He had made like these pretty, from my understanding, these like pretty low budget amateur films, and then he decided, I'm gonna make a film about the Zodiac, and I'm going to help the police catch the Zodiac. So what he did was he made a film about the Zodiac, and I've said Zodiac way too many times already.
It's
In the
okay. I
last
say
two,
gosh. So
yeah,
we'll call it a wash.
yeah. Um, so
Zodiac.
his
Zodiac.
plan is he knows the Zodiac likes attention. So what he does is he makes the film, knows the Zodiac is going to want to go see the film, and he hosts the premiere in San Francisco, where the Zodiac likely is still like frequenting. And what he wants to do is he has everyone put their like fingerprints, record their fingerprints, and he has someone like ready, like waiting, like it's like a little promotional thing. Just like, put your
Sure.
fingerprints here, see if they match the Zodiac, something like that. And they have somebody waiting in a freezer to check every piece of every fingerprint to compare them to the Zodiacs. And
Freaking brilliant.
yeah,
I mean,
and
it's
it would have
brilliant.
worked, but so basically people put their fingerprints in this like refrigeration device, and somebody was hiding inside of it, and somebody needed to be there to like guard the refrigeration thing, or else it wouldn't have mattered,
Right.
and
In custody.
because they needed to get out,
Yeah.
and somebody left one of the people that was in there unattended, and they like passed out, and eventually they were able to get out. And apparently there was a fingerprint that looked eerily similar to what the Zodiac's was. The only problem was they barely got the police involved in time. And apparently the Zodiac said, this isn't, I can't remember if this is one of the unofficial letters that they think is the Zodiac or one of the official letters, but they basically said like, yeah, I went to go see the film. It was fine. I saw that they were trying to catch me through this blah, blah, blah. And they almost did. I showed up, and nothing happened. So yeah,
Huh. Do you
yeah.
know what the name of that was?
The movie?
Yeah,
Let me double check right now.
because after we get done here, after we get done with me taking over your show, I'm gonna go look
Thank
at it.
God.
It is called The Zodiac Killer.
Oh, that's easy to remember. I think I can
Yeah,
find that one.
yeah. It came out in 1971. Yeah,
Wow, it's that old?
yes. So like literally 2 years after, uh,
Everything started.
pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it basically just like started dying down. Would have been like if that Nicolas Cage World Trade Center movie came out in like 2003.
that was such a horrible movie.
Yeah,
But anyway, let's not bag on Nicolas Cage anymore because we can go on all day
Oh,
for
let's
that.
not.
yeah.
You know, yeah. Did you see Long Legs? Not to change the subject.
Yes. Yes. I
What
actually
did
didn't
you?
recognize Nicolas Cage at first because I just kept looking at him And it kind of
Yeah.
reminded me of that one John Mulaney joke where he just goes, is that Dean Cain? You know?
But even though the movie sucked, did he not play a great character in that?
Yeah, he never disappoints. Like anytime
Yeah.
people say Nicolas Cage isn't a good actor, I like strongly urge them to look at his laugh from the movie Bad Lieutenant 2, Port of New Orleans. Like I've never seen someone laugh like that before in my life, and like one act like that. Like it's just like it's a great laugh. Like I strongly recommend. Like I'll probably if I clip this part for when I'm like putting out clips for this podcast, I'm going to include like the clip of that because it's so funny. Like he's so
Yeah.
dedicated. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just because he picks bad movies to be in doesn't make him a bad actor.
And I love
Yeah.
that age.
Well, I know you do. That's why I'm dogging on him so much, because that's her free
Yeah.
pass right there. So
Well, you know, he wouldn't have had to act in so many movies if he just didn't buy a castle, a copy of Superman #1, just all that other stuff that
right.
celebrities
Yeah.
like
And
to buy.
stayed away
So
from Lisa Marie
Come on
and
back,
yeah.
the
girl.
whole 9 yards. So yeah, well. So anyway,
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have about the Zodiac, at least until the FBI comes out with any new news.
or Netflix does.
Yeah, or Netflix. Uh, you know, this is either going to go the way of DB Cooper or where the FBI just says we're not really trying anymore.
Yeah.
And you know,
DB
I'm sure it'll
Cooper's
get to that
another
point
one.
eventually.
Yeah. DB Cooper's another one. We could spend an hour next time if you're bored and need somebody to talk or somebody to talk for you. Just give me a
Maybe we will. Maybe we will.
It's been fun. Thank you.
All right. I'd like to wrap up this episode of Rent Free History by giving a special thanks to our guests, Eddie and Dawn Ravenscar of the messed it up.
Creepy
What's that?
coffees.
Creepy Coffees podcast. Go check them out, please. And yeah, thank you
And
guys again
buy
for
our
being on this
coffee.
episode. Yes.
And buy our coffee. And you can find us everywhere at Creepy Coffees, creepycoffees.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram and all that nonsense. And so come check us out. Come see us on tour. Come say hi. We'll hook you up. And you're in Riverside, you said, right?
Yes.
I think we have a show coming up there in June, somewhere around there. If we do, definitely come and let us know, and we'll take care of you.
All right. Thank you to everyone who listened. Have a great day.